if you don't fix real estate, you'll never fix the economy. Real estate, particularly in Victoria, is in the worst shape it's ever been. The process now for development is so long-winded, and here's the thing. If anyone's been to a lawyer or anyone on timesheets or any trades or an hourly rate, that they'll know they're very conscious of getting things done rather than a fixed price. The state government benefit greatly from a long drawn out planning process because of land tax. They're earning money regardless in all states, and councils are being paid regardless of their outcome. It's not performance paid. So the process making it difficult, in some cases there's a financial and commercial and material interest in maintaining a long drawn out process, rather than from a capitalist thinking, if I've got a block of land and I'm providing, and this particular person or sponsor or developer we're getting $7,000 of land tax and maybe $4,000 of rates. If we grant this permit, if I grant this permit, our rates go from 4,000 to 90,000. Our land tax goes from 7 to 80. Now multiply that by 25 years. That's how I think. So if I was running the state or local municipality and I owned the land and I was granting and selling off land or had the powers to pass this through, I'd be looking at what is the revenue by granting this through, by passing this through, getting royal assent, approving grants as fast as I possibly could, knowing that it's almost like having $1,000 and then all of a sudden working out how I can multiply that by 20 times by tonight at 5 o'clock. And so they just don't seem to get it through their heads, because I'll tell you why. They're not on the hook. These people don't get a part of that 25 times. They don't get bonuses. They're not incentivised. I've been performance paid my entire life. If I don't perform, I don't get the pay or the prize, generally speaking. So there's no incentive for them to pass the permits. They get a set wage, whether they're a statutory planner, they're administration, they're in the referral process, they're in the objection department, whether you're mayor. So there's no incentive to truncate process. And meanwhile that you've got the politicians, both sides, we need more housing, we're short of housing. And at the same time you've got the headwinds out. So I look at it from looking down on it. I think you've got steel and concrete, which has been the big killer, hard cost construction. But you've got that to deal with, let alone forget about just the sales process on selling a great product off the plan, which used to be a lot easier, until builders and people cut corners and made it difficult for off the plan. I've never found it difficult to sell off plan, and everyone seems to be very, very happy with the end product. But that's the process you're looking at. You've got a developer or a government, anyone developing has got the headwinds of cost. That aside for a moment, the problem you've got is there's land, they're getting money anyway while the developer owns the land. The state's getting land tax, the municipality's getting rates. They're getting paid. But individually, what motivates an individual to stamp plans? So they're just creating all this process. And then what's happened is all these other consultants have come in. So when I started building, there was a civil engineer, a structural engineer, obviously the architect, which is obviously drives a lot of that. And that was pretty much where it ended. Today, we're probably going to run out of film. You've got an architect, structural services, mechanical, civil and traffic, wind engineer, fire, ESD, just to name a few, landscaping. All these different consultants now, there's 11, which was 3. So the fire engineer can't really certify until he's seen the structural engineering drawings and the traffic engineering drawings and civil drawings. The civil drawings can't be sort of done complete until the engineering is complete, until the working drawings have been done by the architect. So you've got all these moving parts, and councils are sitting there saying, well, unless you tick this, we can't accept the application. And when you do get the application, we'll find something in there. We'll find something. So the whole process, 10 years ago I would have thought you'd do away with state government and Canberra should deal with the local municipalities. Or now the view is just have state and don't have local council. Now I believe how the system's evolved, you need federal, state and local municipality, but someone should have the Willy Wonka, that gold ticket. I remember that show, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, having that pass from an approval that if you meet a certain criteria from the government or a body that gives them a free, if they've met that criteria, that they're giving the pathway and a certainty by government to get a 6-month pathway before they get their permit. An undertaking by the government, if they're serious about more housing, and they're not doing anything about it, well, they don't have the money. And they'll try to get the money they'll attack superannuation to create these debt funds that'll go into property, and I don't know whether that'll sell. But there should be some concession for a serious, well-qualified developer that has ticked the box, he's certified, he's done a lot of work. He now should be given a free rein to all of this nonsense. And that would make me do more development in Melbourne, opposed to looking in other parts of the world. That's the problem you've got today. I mean, looking at it now, if you just woke up one day and I'm going to become a developer, and then you see that sign, you'd run for the hills. But it's funny, I knew what it was, how, I look back, it was hard back then, but these little things have crept in. Oh, Paul, you can't do that because you'll need the wind engineering report. The engineering report will need to be able to certify the structural report. Well, hang on, what's that? Yeah, that's a new initiative, and that's just policy now that you'll need to have that through. Okay, so all these things have crept in, and like bull ants or cockroaches into the house. They've sort of crept in, even though they were there, but they've crept in, and I now look at it and I think, when I look at it, I think, I'm an idiot. I've tolerated this for too long and it's become so difficult. And now I'm facing that, which I can handle, but now I'm facing material costs. And the prices haven't gone up by, by comparison to the extra cost to build. So anyone looking at it is new developer. Well, there are new developers now. You don't really hear about people coming in and saying, "I'm going to be a developer and come into the market." But that's what you're facing. I mean, it's extremely difficult. Not that I've given up, but I've just decided to pick up my ball and look elsewhere now. The only thing that's going to drive real estate prices up is purely lack of supply, and the people that can afford, new home. I'm talking about homes that are from low end, from 300 up to probably 1.2. Those new starts, there's going to be a massive shortage of that. and that you'll probably see increased pricing on homes above that. But you won't change the housing problem in this country, and I can't see how government, it's not that they don't care, they just don't have the resources or the brains trust to put that initiative in place, because they're too petrified of their own position. So I can't see how anything will change for 3 to 5 years. I just can't see how that will change. And even if it did, even if someone came up with this bright idea today, it's the rollout and then having it passed and been giving royal assent and having it passed through. And then you've got a nation now that's divided. Well, what's the impact? I remember years ago when, things that when landscaping and the greens, I'm all for trees, but I remember fighting at VCAT one time. I never lost at VCAT, but I remember fighting over this brown cardigan barrister who was hell-bent on browbeating me over a case of removing 2 gum trees. And when the gum trees are the worst possible tree you can possibly have, they're more damaging to properties, they shed so much rubbish. Beautiful tree, but I was going to plant 60, but I want 2 removed. And she tried to browbeat me down to give reasons why I made a case. In the end, they lost, but that's what you're dealing with. A myriad of all these issues now. ESD, an ESD home, a 6-star rated home, costs you 30% more than what it does cost traditional. I'm all for that too, but there's so many things against so many headwinds you're fighting against in real estate development, and not just here, nationally, and also the United States that's less impacted, but Victoria is in all sorts of bother. I think you're going to see. I've factored in now that what we see on interest rates in the world, what we see on construction material and business in property, you won't see much change in the next 10 years at all. Nothing significant for me to sort of stay in that space.